Hi guys, welcome back to Scale Motor. We're back with part 2 of the Tamiya Ducati Senna, and today we're going to be focusing on the engine. I've noticed quite a few more ASMR style videos on YouTube, so yeah, we're gonna do a bit of that, and I'm just gonna come back every now and again for a little chat. Once all the parts were off the sprue, it was time to just clean up those sprue connection points. And I like to snip with the side cutters and then come in with a hobby blade just to clean it up. And then maybe a little bit of sanding if needed. Just making sure to also test fit the parts, just so there's no further cleanup needed. We're also going to make sure to remove those mold lines just using our scalpel and a UMP sander. There's some raised detail on the engine casing, so we're just going to use some bare metal foil and we're going to cut a little bit off, peel it off the back end, and then just place it over the raised detail. Once it's on there, we're just going to give it a squeeze, push it down nice and hard, and then come in with a cotton bud, just so we can try and get that bare metal foil down in between the details, and you can see that raised lettering. Then we're just going to come in with our scalpel and chop off any excess, because otherwise after painting, you'll see those lines. It is you. We're just going to use a little bit of Tamiya extra thin on the connection points on the parts where the cases join, and then once the parts are together, we can come back in if any extra glue is needed, run it along the seams where the parts join, and then the capillary action of the glue will take the glue into the seam and it'll stick the parts a lot better. Because the parts were a bit squiff, they didn't go together perfectly, we're just going to use a bit of tape and slightly manipulate the parts into place and then run the tape on the parts to hold it in place while the glue dries so it sets nicely. To mount the parts for painting, I opted to use the lollipop stick and sticky back pads. There's quite a few parts which are the same color, so just putting them on the same stick just makes painting easier. I don't have to keep going back and forth between my mounted parts, and I don't have to spend ages snipping cocktail sticks and using super glue to mount parts, because not all of these have got holes in. And we're all mounted and ready for painting. Prime in with Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 Black, and then thinning with Mr. Colour Rapid Thinner, just because I want it to dry nice and quick so I can get on with painting. Shooting at about 18 to 20 psi, and I think we ended up with 3 coats of primer. In this first coat, we're just trying to make sure we get in all the nooks and crannies, just because with an engine and parts like this, there's a lot of opposing faces and different angles. We just need to make sure we get each and every one. Using Alclad dull aluminium for the metal colour, the PSI was turned right down to about 6 or 7 maybe. This is unthinned, straight in the airbrush, and we just want to build it up slowly. It's not too much, it's not too important to build the duller colours up slowly with Alclad, but when you've got the shiny stuff, you do want to build those up really, really slow. I think it was 4 coats in total, and then we moved on to making a colour for the kind of greeny grey engine casings. Now there was no calculations or anything, I just guessed, put 2 colours together and liked the colour. It looks close enough to me, so we went ahead and popped it in our airbrush. We saved a bit back for later for detail painting, and thinned it with Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner. PSI back up now to about, again, 18. That's when I tend to do all my painting, apart from things like Alclad and stuff where you got to change your pressures. Next, we're doing a bit of detail painting. I opted to brush paint these rather than masking because that was a bit of a faff. We're just using the unthinned concoction from earlier. This is my favourite paint to use for rubber hoses, and the good thing is you can apply it pretty thick and it leaves a kind of slight texture, which settles the look of a rubber hose. Now we're using a little bit of Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner just to go over the very top of that raised detail, and I'll pull the paint off and show the bare metal foil underneath, giving a nice shiny look. Now for the Tamiya panel liner, this will bring out the detail in all the recessed areas. At first I was just going to do a showroom quality bike, and then I decided against it. I don't really like doing brand new looking showroom quality models because while it can be realistic, and it is realistic, you do get that in life. We don't generally see things like that. So I decided to just pretty much cover the engine with the panel liner, and then come in later with a cotton bud with a bit of not mineral spirits, sorry, and a enamel thinner, and just pull off any of that excess until I was happy. Next up, the hoses looked a bit bare, so we're cutting a bit more bare metal foil just so we can add some shiny looking hose clamps. This is probably my quickest, easiest method of adding hose clamps. I've tried painting them in the past, I've tried using PE, but I didn't have any spare. The PE normally does look better than this, but this was what I had to hand, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out, to be fair. Next, to add a bit of visual interest and just make things look a tad more realistic, we opted to use the AK True Metal paint and dry brush it over the metal areas. This gives a tiny bit of wear and makes things look just a little bit more metallic. And then we just went on to some detail painting. We painted all the bolt heads just to break up that kind of greeny color and make it a little bit more realistic. Excuse the angle, it is quite hard to capture detail painting the way I'm recording these days because the camera's right in front of me and I've got the optivisor on. But I think those bolt heads really kind of bring it out, and I'm quite happy with the result here. And we're all done. For more detailed photos, you can hop over to my Instagram or my Facebook. But yeah, I quite enjoyed building this engine, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. In the meantime, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.